Good day, it is Stephen Davids here, and in this video I will focus on and tell you how to set and finish the panels of the panel fence, the cement fence, concrete fence, also known as Vibracrete fence in South Africa. This thing is known by various names. In other videos I focused on other elements, set up the fence, the posts, how to handle it. In this video specifically I focus on how to set up the panels. Of course, you just quickly mark up the poles. You mark up the pole to the first pole at the first panel at the bottom. You mark where it starts and where it ends using a jig or a measuring tape for this purposes. And then you, of course, just set up the start and the end poles. And use a builder's line to align them however you want. And this is a very important step where you then come and you take off the filling, where you then just level the ground. You level the ground in terms of the top height of the first panel and the bottom height. You level this so that you then have a level surface. Remember, this element is extremely important because it determines in the rest of how easy it will be to level the panels further on. If you work at an angle, the same thing applies if you work and lay your fence at a panel, at an angle, excuse me. You then mark and dig the holes after you finished leveling the ground. Then you come and make openings at the side of the holes. These openings you will use to put in cement to cement the bottom panel to the posts later on, and of course you will have to at the ultimate end fill it up, but you will use these holes to fill it with concrete and then attach the bottom post to the bottom, excuse me, and attach the bottom panel to the posts. You start off by sliding the panel tightly into the groove of the pole, and then use a stick or a crowbar to tightly fit it into the groove of the existing pole. If you can't do it by hand, then use a crowbar. Then you level the panel by using the builder's line as well as a spirit level. If you level the ground in the first place very well, it won't be out too much, but leveling is of course very important because you can't really have a fence where one side is up and the other side of the panel down. Note that there is a certain tolerance throughout for work. For example, it can be 5 millimeter below the gutters line, but remember it depends on individual taste. As long as it is relatively in line, you're not working with very sensitive and complicated things. It must be acceptably close to the gutters line, builder's line. Then you, to lower the panel slightly, you simply slide the panel forth and back into the groove in a sort of a slicing movement to get more space into the soil. You cut it sort of deeper if it's too high, the panel. You want to lower a certain part of the panel, you just use a rubber hammer by hitting on it, various places of course. If you want to lower a part of the panel, because a part of the panel is too high, you just remove some sand with builder's trowel, with by hand, with a crowbar, or with a garden trowel. If the panel is slightly too low and you want to raise it, then you use a small crowbar, put it underneath, lift it, and then maybe put sand on it, stones on it. That's where you just lift it. After having set your panel a level, by lifting certain parts or the whole panel, lowering it using the various methods, or by hand slicing it, lifting it with a crowbar, or adding some sand or whatever. And then you add your post. You add your post from the very side. There's a video on how I do it, and you can watch that video in more detail. After you set your pole into position, you now go back to the preceding panel and just check if it is still level. Didn't move out too much. Use your spirit level for that. Use the builder's line for that. And if you see it is level, get the panel, get the post. If the post is level, go back to the panel and see if it didn't move. It didn't move. Then you just fill up the holes and just attach it to the panels. Go then back, the panel, attach the panel, and of course this case it is different where you just attach the panels to the posts. I'll leave it everything overnight to set, and then the next day you complete all the poles, and when every pole are completed, then you must go back, use a trowel, and then there's a space between the panel in the groove. You have the groove, and between the panel, when the groove is too big, you use something to force it open, and then you fill up that little space with builder's cement using the builder's truffle. If you do not do that, when it's windy, it will shake. Of course, when you're finished with everything, you fill up the bottom with that, where you removed some sand and so on. Use a spade and a garden fork and just fill up the bottom holes and openings there, so that it can be the depth that you want. The bottom panel is then the depth, the desired depth that you want it to be. Thank you very much for watching this video. We like constructive criticism and comments. Please like and share this video. Please subscribe. Thank you very much.